5 open cases and was turned loose because of no cash bail as far distant as 2019, when my one adversary, Andrew Cuomo, signed that into law. He was the architect of no cash bail. My other adversary, Zorhan Mandami, is the apprentice of no cash bail. So in these 2 cases, they should have weighed in on it. They haven't. They almost never talk about crimes in the subway or crimes in the street. In addition, there have been other crimes. We know on the F train, 2 men had robbed 2 other men, pushed one into the tracks on Saturday night, and they've yet to be detained. And there have been a series of other major crimes in the subway system. It's only going to get worse as the weather gets more inclement. And when you go to each of the transit police precincts, the closest one here, the #1 transit police precinct at Columbus Circle, they tell me time and time again, Curtis, we just don't have enough men and women. We don't have enough police officers. We can only be spread but so thin. My remedy? We need to make sure that we get police officers out there on the moving subway cars. They need to do sweeps of the platforms and become very proactive. But again, if you only have 32,500 police officers at hand to patrol not just the streets, the housing, and the transit police, you're really handicapped. And that's why the priority of my mayoralty will be to hire 7,000 trained professional police officers. It's going to cost $1 billion to vet them out, to train them, and to get them into the streets and the subways and the public housing facilities. So I don't want to hear any longer from Eric Adams that it is a perception. I don't want to hear from Jessica Tisch, the police commissioner, that it's an anomaly. I know they've been responding by saying, oh, no, look at the stats. You've never been safer. I've yet to come across any New Yorker, whether they're on the subways, the buses, whether they're in the neighborhoods, the 350 neighborhoods that I visited on a regular basis. Not one of them has said that they feel safer, that it is safer, and that they feel comforted in going about taking a subway, whether by day or by night. Obviously, the other big update is that I came off of that stage of Channel 4 NBC last night as the victor in that 3-person debate. It is clear to me that what we have from Zorhan Mandami, it's almost like Daft Punks, if you remember that pop group from the 1990s on MTV. He's robotic. Everything is affordable, affordable, affordable. You ask him about parades, affordable. You ask him about global warming, climate change, affordable. He refuses to address anything else. The one time he did lapse, though, he was talking about what to do with the emotionally disturbed who are living in this subway system with all the homeless. And he directed us all to a program in Eugene, Oregon. And I had to turn to him in wonderment and amazement and say, what a fantasy that is. The reality is, you've never been to Eugene, Oregon. I have. This is New York City. You're comparing what goes on in Eugene, Oregon to what you would do in New York City? He is hopelessly disconnected from the problems of the subway. Andrew Cuomo, he's run out of gas. I haven't heard anything new from Andrew Cuomo since he lost those 2 primary debates and eventually lost the primary to the ultimate winner, Zorhan Mandami. If we are to recruit police, and I brought this to everybody's attention last night on the debate, the #1 impediment to getting young men and young women to join the police department, because many of them come from families where there have been police officers, whether it's their parents or grandparents, aunts and uncles, is the fact that the police do not have insurance. They don't. People don't realize this. All the other civil servants, 320,000 in the city system, they're all insured. It's called qualified immunity. The police were stripped of that in 2021 by our city council. And the mayor did nothing to remedy that. The man who claimed, oh, as a police officer for 22 years. Yeah, you had qualified immunity. We know that Andrew Cuomo on that stage last night, protected by qualified immunity, as we were reminded again and again, how Tom DiNapoli, our Democratic state controller, has had to pay out $60 million of our tax dollars to satisfy sexual harassment claims against Governor Cuomo. 13 that I brought to everybody's attention. One, a female state trooper that he said was all made up. It was a political hit job on him. He's protected. Other civil servants are protected, but police officers are not protected. That's why we're not able to get enough recruits to meet the demand that we have. And on day one, I'm going to make sure that that's restored. That's the least we could do to these brave men and women who every time they go out are risking their lives to protect us, whether in the subways, the streets, or the public housing project. Any questions?
Mr. Silwa, last night you took to social media calling time on Andrew Cuomo and the race. What are your thoughts on that, and what did you think of his debate performance last night?
I think it was apparent to everybody, and the look on Andrew Cuomo's face, he was utterly defeated last night. He ran out of gas. He's got no more gas in his tank. He spent millions of dollars in PAC money, both in the primary and in the regular campaign, and money he's raised from billionaires to try to put a dent in Zorhan Mandami. He hasn't even put a dent in him. He can't keep pace with Zorhan Mandami. It's over for him. He's from a different age. It's time to go retire with his billionaire benefactors, his Medicis, in the Hamptons. You see, with Andrew Cuomo, he lost as the Democratic chosen institutional candidate in the primary. He lost. He was rejected by the Democrats. The problem with Andrew Cuomo that he doesn't understand what no means in many different ways. I've got the energy, I've got the resolve, I've got the new ideas. I'm the only one who's in the streets and the subways who reflects what average everyday working people are saying. Zorhan Mandami is now the cone man. Every answer is affordability, affordability. And we have another debate coming up next Wednesday, and I'm getting him out of his comfort zone, his comfort cocoon, because when he's forced to talk about anything other than affordability, he is hopelessly naive. He talks from the land of fantasy, not reality. And I'm going to pin him down because he's really not knowledgeable about these critical issues that the next mayor is going to have to deal with from day one. He's not ready to deal with them. I am. And that's why that second debate next Wednesday will be very important, because I'm not going to let him be a robot any longer, just saying affordability, affordability, affordability to every question.
Mr. Silwa, is there any circumstance under which you would consider suspending your campaign?
No, 1,000 times no. If we go through the litany and the history of this, on June 24th, Andrew Cuomo threw in the towel to Zorhan Mandami in the Democratic primary. He knew no mas, it was over. 70% of the Democrats wouldn't even ranked choice vote him. Immediately there was a chorus of all the billionaires that were leaving the failed Andrew Cuomo primary attempt as they ran over to their newfound savior for New York City, Eric Adams, who put us in this mess to begin with because of him not functioning as a mayor. That's how Zorhan Mandami came about. A year ago, nobody even knew who Zorhan Mandami was, not even his neighbors. His failure led to Zorhan Mandami. So Andrew Cuomo is now on the cusp of bowing out June 24th. And remember, every day, every public, you gotta drop out, Andrew, you gotta drop out. Well, he stayed the course. That was his choice. And the savior turned out not to be a savior, because on his very first press conferences, he brought back all the old crooked gang. Ingrid Lewis, Martin, the potato chip gal herself, Winnie Greco. Everybody that put this city in the abyss, he brought back. And he couldn't get out of even breaking 10 percentage point in the polls. So then all of a sudden, you know, is the price right yet? Eric was ready. He was auditioning. The price right, the price. Finally, he got his price 3 weeks ago, and he was one and done. And then the same billionaires started all over again. Curtis, you got to drop out. Curtis, you got to drop out. Well, who am I dropping out for? Andrew Cuomo? Andrew Cuomo failed against Zorhan Mandami. Why would I drop out for a guy who's already tossed in the towel? And so, no, 1,000 times no. We have less than 3 weeks to go. If you look at my campaign, I'm the only one with headquarters. I have 11 headquarters all throughout the 5 boroughs. I have exuberant volunteers everywhere who are excited about my campaign and the issues that I brought to the forefront. I've raised more money in matching funds than Andrew Cuomo. I have 15,000 donors. He only has 8,000 donors. So why would I somehow not want to follow through on the commitment that I've made to my followers who are prepared to vote for me either as the Republican candidate, the only other major party candidate, and on the line that my wife created, first ever in electoral history, the independent line, protect animals, that calls for no-kill shelters and putting animal abusers in jail. Again, I will say this, elections are about people voting. Billionaires have thought that they could pick the next mayor. They have failed miserably. They should stay on Wall Street. They know nothing about politics or the streets. And the professional political class has failed in this election cycle. They need to sit on the sidelines. You know who we need to trust with this election? The people. What a novel idea. The people who work, who pay the taxes, who raise their children here, who haven't fled but decided to improve, not move, whether they're voting for me or not, they will determine who the next mayor is, and I will live with the choice that they make. If I should happen to lose, I'm not going to flee like Andrew Cuomo told his billionaire friends in the Hamptons when he was being wine-dined in pocket line. Oh, I'm coming with you to Florida. I stay, I fight for what I know is right. I continue the battle to improve and not move.
Curtis, there were a few moments last night where it appeared you might have been a little confused about the question or whether or not it was your turn to speak. What do you say to people who say that may raise questions about, whether or not you're up for the demanding grueling job of being mayor of New York City?
I wasn't alone in that. My colleague, Andrew Cuomo, also was befuddled at times. I had asked all 4 moderators to speak up. They chose not to. I don't know if it was purposeful. It was the setting. Now, remember, Zorhan Mandami, he didn't have to hear anything. We know what his answer was going to be. Affordability, 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 affordability. He refused to answer a panoply of questions. But it's not right when you're running a debate. And I went out of my way in front of both Zorhan Mandami and Andrew Cuomo and said, could you raise your voices? We can't hear you. And it was evident Andrew wasn't able to hear some of the questions. I wasn't.
Well, and also in terms of the talking out of turn, they definitely were letting the two of them go back and forth and not giving him a chance to talk at all. So I don't think it was out of turn as much as it was to say something.
Yeah, if you looked at those first 10 minutes, I'm right in the middle. I was a person of no consequence in that debate to Channel 4 and their moderators, so I had to inject myself. Look, I earned my right to be on that stage. I got the signatures to qualify as a Republican candidate. I had universal endorsement. I raised more money than Andrew Cuomo did. I deserve to be in that debate. And those moderators, all 4 of them, if they look back at the tape, they'll say, gee whiz, we thought we could ignore Curtis. You don't ignore Curtis Silwa. I'm respectful at first, but when I see I am the object of what we call in the streets a diss and dismiss, oh no, you're going to hear from me. And that's why I won the debate, because I decided I wasn't going to just roll over for them who only wanted to see Andrew Cuomo and Zorhan Mandami round 3. It was the same debate as in the primaries. I gave them new stuff, new ideas, new concepts, and was very mayoral. And that's why I won the debate.
Curtis, what do you make of what Andrew Cuomo said this morning, which is that you're just a spoiler, you can't win, and that you've been put up by party bosses because it's better for Elise Stefanik in the governor's race, it's better for national Republicans to have Mamdani as mayor, and that you're basically the patsy allowing that to happen?
What do you say to that?
Wow. Imagine if you were a Cuomo supporter and you heard that.